The cheapest one is $12,000. Which means that a house of 100 square meters costs about $1 million. Even the smallest apartment house costs $50,000 or $60,000. You must listen carefully, sir.
Natalie Xavier was very dismissive of this kind of person who was overconfident and maliciously delayed time.
Well,
Chuck Canon didn't even finish his words. At this time, a pot-bellied man walked into the real estate agency. The gold necklace on his neck was thicker than his fingers, and he looked like a rich man at first glance. Natalie immediately chose to leave Chuck aside and greeted the man with a smile. It was totally different from the way she treated Chuck. When Natalie saw the fat man, she immediately put on a happy smile.
Sir, do you want to buy a house?
Yes, I want to buy a house. Introduce some high-quality housing sources to me.
Yes, yes. We have plenty of high-quality rooms here for you with our high-end service. Unlike some people who come to us even when they can't afford it. It's a waste of time.
Natalie gave Chuck a disdainful look as she spoke, implying and cursing him. Chuck looked at Natalie's attitude and felt disheartened. He was used to being looked down upon. At that time, he didn't dare to say anything without money. But this time, he had $5 million. How could he swallow such humiliation?
Where's your manager? Call your manager over.
Do people like you still have the right to meet our manager? Don't make a fool of yourself here. Get out of here. Do you know that wasting 1 minute of our time will affect how much money we make?
The manager walked over slowly at this time. As a service industry, it was a big taboo to be rude to guests.
What's going on, Natalie?
Manager, this broke idiot isn't trying to buy a house. But instead he's enjoying the air conditioning here. I'll get him out of here immediately.
The manager eyeballed Chuck's clothes from top to bottom and saw that he was dressed rather ordinarily. Indeed, as Natalie said, he didn't look like someone who could afford to buy a house. More importantly, he was too young to buy a house, as he looked just 18 or 19 years old. No one would believe he had the ability to buy a house. Chuck did not say anything. He stood up and walked to the agency next door.
Can't afford the house? It seems that you are not the only real estate agency here.
How is a poor person like you would be able to buy a house? I think you can't even afford a toilet. He's afraid of making a fool of himself, so he found an excuse to run away quickly. Still pretending even when you're gone.
After watching Chuck leave, Natalie hurriedly ran to the fatty and smiled apologetically.
I am sorry, sir. Sorry to keep you waiting.
It's okay. It's okay.
Natalie started showing him different houses and villas. However, no matter how Natalie greeted him, the fatty never talked about money. In the end, Natalie's patience was exhausted and she even began to plead. Suddenly, all the employees of the real estate agency looked outside. Under the respectful guidance of the staff next door, Chuck got into a Mercedes-Benz, which was specifically used for high-end customers to go visit the property. The fatty saw that these people in the agency were distracted, so he quickly sneaked out. Natalie turned around and looked for the fatty, but found that he actually ran away. She was so angry that she stomped her feet. She didn't expect that the fatty who was just putting on airs was here just to enjoy air conditioning. At this time, an employee from next door agency came quickly. He pushed the door open and said with a smile,
"Thank you. You sent such an important customer to our company. We haven't run into any big business in the past 2 years. Today is a big day."
Important customer.
The manager's face darkened and he hurriedly asked,
What did he buy?
He bought a house worth more than $3 million. Thank you. I'll treat you to a cup of milk tea later.
Thereafter the employee turned back and got into the Mercedes-Benz and took Chuck to take a look at the house. Natalie's face was full of disbelief. Looking at Chuck, who was sitting in the car with a smile on his face, Natalie felt uncomfortable.
How could it be possible? He is so poor. How could he possibly afford to buy a house?
Before she could blame herself, the manager raised his hand and slapped her.
Look at what you have done.
If they had got this deal, the employee would get a 5% commission, which would be around $150,000. As for the manager, he would have gotten a 10% commission. But now, the manager trembled with anger when he thought of the commission of $300,000 gone with the wind. He kicked Natalie again and said,
Get out. You're fired.
Natalie was losing her mind. Ignoring the pain in her body, she got up and ran outside. She looked at Chuck and knocked on window repeatedly, sobbing.
Sir, I am sorry. I am really sorry. I failed to recognize your wealth before. Please give me another chance. We have better houses here.
It's all right, you can save it for other customers.
After that, the Mercedes-Benz started up in a hurry. Natalie chased after him all the way and finally sat down. She looked weakly at the Mercedes-Benz getting farther and farther away. The manager threw Natalie's personal belongings at the door and yelled,
Get out of here. Don't let me see you again.
Chuck was quite satisfied with the house. It had 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and 2 bathrooms. Located in downtown area, the business district was more prosperous and there was a lot of room for renovation. $3.5 million was paid in a lump sum graciously. The salesman had not seen such a rich man for a long time. He took the initiative to send Chuck back to university. When they arrived at the gate, Chuck nodded and said,
You can drop me off here.
All right, sir, the process of transferring the house should be completed tomorrow. And you should be able to move in the day after tomorrow.
Chuck nodded and decided to stay at the nearest hotel for the time being for the next 2 days. However, he wanted to know more was how Yvette Jordan would feel if she saw that his house was 3 or 4 times bigger than hers. Chuck first took out $20,000 before strolling into the university. There were not many classes in the afternoon, but Chuck was already absent for a whole class, because he was busy outside for a while. Seeing Chuck walking into the classroom, Laura sneered.
Oh, who is this? Isn't this Chuck, the beggar of our class? I am telling you, don't lend money to such a person. When you lend him money, he acts as though you're his savior and boasts to you. But when you try to get your money back from him, he acts shamelessly like a scammer trying to cheat off your money. This guy doesn't even have parents. Who knows which bastard he learned these tactics from?
The whole class burst into laughter.
This marks the end of Chapter 2. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel and comment any other novel you'd like to be featured here.